You know, I just, what was it, 2 days ago? 2 days ago, I got a chance to meet some of Bill Whittle's friends.
Hey.
Did you guys know this was happening?
No.
I don't have any friends.
What happened?
Well, that's what they all said, Bill, oddly enough. I called them your friends, though. And we got together at a Fort Worth barbecue joint, along with my lovely bride, Stephanie. And your friend Carla there from the
yes, Carla was
from
there,
BWDC Tower in Los Angeles.
That's right.
Sitting high atop it in a corner office. Anyway, so Carla was in town for a convention, and we got together with some people who were fans of the Stratosphere Lounge, which is Bill's YouTube / what's that other thing called? Ustream show.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe half a dozen or so people. Can I say first names? Can we give a shout out?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, first
Okay,
names.
so-
That's totally safe.
So Trey was there. Trey's a college student. Paula was there. Steve was there. And
Not me. I don't like
and
Bill.
Kit, not that Steve, no, another Steve who's a very important person in Fort Worth. And Kit was there. And then Joanne and Jason, who are married. And Jason was kind enough to come along, even though he doesn't know what it's all about. But she said his wife was so thrilled that he brought her to that and sat through the whole, conversation for 3 hours, even though he had no interest in it. He also went to a Metallica concert with her.
If I'd known that was happening, I would have hand-stamped my autograph on something.
On something,
I would have done it
sure.
personally. Yeah.
Well, and the great thing is, when I walked in the door, I was recognized immediately by the hostess of the restaurant, who asked if I wanted a table. And then when I got to the table, they were nice enough. Your fans were nice enough to not interrupt my meal and conversation by begging me for autographs and stuff like that. So.
No, they're your fans
that
too,
was
Scotty. They're all big fans of both you guys.
And I can't speak highly enough about those signature stamps, because that's what you use when you don't care enough to use AutoPen.
No! If it's something important for me, I will stamp it by hand.
Oh, wow.
I did actually hand out some Bill Whittle autographed World Series baseballs. So those will be worth something on eBay later.
I'm the only guy I know who, when I autograph one of my DVDs, it actually lowers its value on eBay, which is really kind of remarkable when you get right down to it.
Yeah, it's on there. It's like, I would charge the full retail for this, but it's been marred.
$9.95 for an untouched copy. Bill Whittle personally autographed, $3.95. OBO.
But we did take some pictures afterward, and I hope I didn't leave anybody out. I think I'm going around the table in my mind. And by the way, the barbecue is really great at Risky's Barbecue, which even though the name of it sounds like it would be a place where waitresses would be inadequately attired, it's actually a family name. It's like RISCKY. So anyway, thanks to the people who are members of BillWhittle.com, who just love this show so much that they're willing to drive 45 minutes out of their way to sit down with one of the B-list players at BillWhittle.com.
Oh, stop. I wish I'd been there. No, you guys are great. And I'm
with
sure they were
Carla.
happy to see you.
So anyway, this week we are prepping for another week of episodes of Right Angle at BillWhittle.com, and made possible by you members. And I do have the members only thing this week. Should I go first?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's your
call.
call.
And as usual, you're going to have to help me to choose which one of these two should go out to the general public. One is the feel-good story of the week, I think, and then the other is the you're going to feel something story of the week.
Oh, no.
So let me start with the feel-good story of the week. The feel-good story of the week is actually about an ex-Green Beret who is now part of a not-for-profit group that helps. In fact, I think he founded the not-for-profit group that helps people in conflict zones, people who are in war zones and stuff like that. And I don't know if you guys have seen this video yet, but this guy, while under ISIS sniper fire, I believe in Mosul, Iraq, said to his two buddies there, "Cover me." And he ran out into the free fire zone, so to speak, while these other two guys were laying down covering fire, and picked up a little girl who was injured. Looks like she couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 years old, and came running back with her. He was wearing a bulletproof vest and a helmet, but he was unarmed, and he just sprints out. And you can even see what appeared to me to be tracer fire. Now, I'm not sure why that was necessary in broad daylight, but every once in a while you see something that flies by. And it just reminded me, of the quality of people that enter our armed forces and the kinds of people who, when America is taking a beating overseas by all these people who know better than we do how to run the world, we've got guys like this who are willing to go overseas, put their own lives in jeopardy to help the victims in conflict zones like that, in terrible places where ISIS is ruling. And the guy, and we'll get his name out tomorrow, but the guy who ran out there and rescued this little girl said right before he did it, he thought, my wife and kids will understand.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because this is...
If I don't make it back. Yeah, no, I get it, man. I get it. Wow.
So... and more details to come on that one. But anyway, that's either potential for members only or for our general audience out there on YouTube. And then the other one is a fascinating little blog piece, and I've only got part of it so far because it's going to be
that's a contradiction in terms.
I'm sorry, fascinating a blog piece.
Yeah.
That's right, because there's no new posts at eject.com, are there?
No, or Scrappleface
or Vodka Pundit, or oh, wait a minute, he's still alive.
Oh God.
So anyway, there was a piece in, it's actually like in Ms., I believe it's connected to Ms. Magazine, which I didn't know still existed. And it's under the headline, My Month with a Gun, Week 1. So I actually clicked through on it thinking, oh, this is fascinating. This is some person who's now for the first time, purchased a handgun and maybe doing a concealed carry and just kind of recounting the experience. Because I remember... years ago, my early days and the feelings and thoughts and what you go through is the process and all that kind of stuff. So I thought this would be fascinating to read. As it turns out, my month with a gun is very similar to Super Size Me.
How many people did they kill?
Yeah, so the idea, and I just read one post of this so far, but the upshot of it is how easy it is to get a gun and how terrible it is that somebody as irresponsible and untrained as the author of this post was able to go out and sit at McDonald's or Starbucks armed with a concealed weapon. So,
did she open fire on anybody?
Apparently not so far, but it's only week
maybe
1.
It wasn't quite as risky as she thinks.
It's only week 1, though. Give her time.
Super Size Me is when I replaced my 9mm with a .45.
That's right. So anyway, I just thought, here we go again. Well, there you go again. That we have somebody who's setting out to prove something by basically structuring a straw man scenario and acting it out on our behalf, and then basically drawing the conclusion that was in the premise to begin with.
Yeah, we were talking about this on NRA TV with this guy Jordan Klepper, who did Jordan Klepper Solves Guns, and he did an earlier one called A Good Guy with a Gun. And basically the idea is he goes down to a gun range, acts as if he's a homicidal redneck lunatic who just wants to shoot Muslims, waits for the racist firearms instructor to say, oh boy, you came to the right place, and instead finds he's surrounded by professionals who are very calm. So basically it's just a kind of a, let's go and convince everybody, and so including ourselves, that the people that we hate for the right reasons. And even if they can't find evidence of that, then they obviously have to make evidence to manufacture the case against people who they don't like, even though the people they don't like aren't doing the things that they say they don't like them for.
Yeah. So now,
I was barely able to follow that. I mean,
we've got there were.
They're both hardy topics, and I think I'd like to do the Green Beret for the public, just because the public needs to hear stories like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, Green Beret public. Excellent. All right, Stephen Green, you must have some sort of topic and several backup topics for us this week. Let's make you do all of them.
I do. One's kind of meaty, and the other is silly, and I really like both of them. So you're going to help me pick, and they both involve Donald Trump. One was the right-wing protest at the Julius Caesar Trump play in New York, where what's his name and what's her name shouted, "You're all fascists," and interrupted the play. And there have been a lot of takes on this on the right, both pro and con, and I'd like to get into that. And the other, and maybe I'll just drop this in, because I'm not sure this is worth a full segment, but it was just a great story that I think shows that maybe for the first time we really have a truly inclusive president. I don't know if you saw this. It was all over social media all weekend, but the president, the first lady, and an extremely gay teacher posing behind the Resolute desk. And the teacher is he's got his fan and he's kind of flicked it out. He's just out there and being himself. And I loved that picture because there's the president sitting there, not uncomfortable, not telling him not to do this, where the camera can see it. But oh yeah, bring your fan. I love the fan. It's a great fan. It's a classy, huge fan. And then just smiling his face off.
What makes you think this guy is gay? I just saw the picture. I don't know where you're coming up with this kind of.
It's
just totally flamboyantly gay.
It's a stereotype assumption on Steve's part.
I also have a picture of him holding up a rainbow flag that says LGBTs for Trump. Let's do it.
And that was in 2016. You want to do that story?
He's
absolutely
teacher of the year.
I want to.
All right, I
definitely want to do
that's a good idea, Bill. And instead, I'll kind of flip this around and I'll throw in the protest as a little side thing.
And by the way, Steve, on that protest thing at the Julius Caesar production, the only two mistakes those protesters made were, number one, they didn't refer to themselves as performance artists, okay?
Yes.
And number two, they didn't take their shirts off.
Yeah.
So if they had taken their shirts off and referred to themselves as performance artists, all is forgiven.
Yeah.
By the way, I just saw a little logo while I was looking for the picture, and it's a feather of it's just a simple graphic of a feather in an inkwell, and above it says columnist, and I thought it said communist. I went looking at it as a.
Well, anyway, that's a subject maybe we can tackle another week. Is you're seeing this all over Twitter now? People using the little hammer and sickle emoji as a part of their profile description. The commies are coming back out of the closet, and I honestly think that we just need to beat them back in there. I mean,
I think that's a grand
Steve,
idea.
If you're gay and out and proud, I'm on your side. If you're a communist, go to hell.
Yeah, that's right.
I have the perfect way for the avatar that you can add to your Twitter profile. Since they're doing the hammer and the sickle, I think you should do the arm and hammer. I think since you want to beat them back into their place, I think you should use that.
And those murdering bastards killed 100 million people, and
at least,
you're a bunch of haters.
But they didn't do it right, and they didn't do it right in China. They didn't do it right in Vietnam, and they didn't do it right in Cambodia, and they didn't do it right. Most recently, didn't do it right in Venezuela.
Well,
but
it's only because they didn't have enough
days.
money.
We'll get it right after the next 100 million.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I'm with you, man. I'm down.
Okay, Bill Whittle, we did have a ceremonial empty chair for you at the barbecue place because you couldn't be there in Fort Worth. Now, unfortunately, the ceremonial empty chair was at a different table. We didn't have enough seats at our table.
Fair enough.
But there it was.
Probably more interesting than I am in conversations.
By the way, I'll submit the reimbursement form later. But while the people there actually picked up dinner for Stephanie and I don't know who did, but we never got a check. That was really sweet.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough to park correctly in downtown Fort Worth, and so we wound up getting a $75 parking ticket. But enough about me. Bill Whittle, are you going to do any shows this week?
I thought I might. Is another little story that you can use, that I want to use to tee us off into a bigger issue. And it turns out the Supreme Court has overturned a law banning offensive trademarks.
Yes.
Yeah, that's breaking news. We're taping this just like 2 hours after that SCOTUS.
I'm not cheering the Supreme Court. I'm cheering Bill because we're choosing this episode.
Yeah, because so it looks like the Washington Redskins will be able to protect their, multi-million-dollar brand and all the rest of it. But what I think is interesting is that the case was brought by an Asian band called the Slants.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I would like to do with this is to basically come back to something I don't touch on very often. I've probably touched on it once or twice. And that is, look, the more energy you put into these things, the more powerful they become. The more air you let out of them, the less powerful they become.
The Streisand effect. Yeah.
Homosexuals have queer used to be like a terrible insult, and they just owned it. They just owned it. And I keep coming back to the Irish who seem to be, I mean, the Irish were certainly as despised as just about anybody who ever came into this country at the time. But they have a sense of humor about themselves. Not like they came in on the top. They didn't come over as aristocracy and noblemen. They came over to being spit on. No Irish, Irish need not apply. All the rest of it. And there's one Irish Catholic school basically in the country that's a university that's big enough to have a name, and their mascot is a leprechaun with a green hat on going like this.
Fighting Irish, baby.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's like the Fighting Irish, and I think frankly they would have probably gone with the drunken Fighting Irish because
That's right.
because they are having fun with this identity, and by having fun with it, they just completely, in my opinion, they just disarm it, absolutely disarm it.
And not just that, I don't think this measures up to that culture. And the fact, I'm sure it doesn't. But the Irish in Ireland were stereotyped by the British as being brawlers and lawbreakers and miscreants, and you couldn't trust them. Of course, the British were colonizing the place and all that. But they came over here, and what's the Irish stereotype professionally? It's the corner cop, it's the FBI agent, this is who they became in the United States.
They became law enforcement, and then they moved into politics.
Yeah.
And I just want to use that as an example, that not just as an example for, hey, you people are screaming so much about race, if you just stop complaining so much. It's just the whole idea of owning it, and I want to get just as a button on this. I forget which one of you guys told me about it. I think it was you, Scotty, who said that, during World War II, actual platoons, I'm not talking about World War II movies,
Yeah.
this guy was Mick, and this guy was Greaser, and this guy was this, and
My
this guy
pop
was
told me
that.
that. Yep.
Yeah. And as opposed to the progressives who want us to believe that these labels are indicative of a murderous hatred, which will only grow worse unless we have progressive policies to make sure that those things don't happen, I think it did the exact opposite. I think it did the exact opposite, and I think that's why they did it in combat.
They were terms of endearment.
That's right.
Yeah.
It diffused it. Now, they'd started out as slurs. They were slurs in the beginning. Let's not get that wrong. But by basically owning it, you're basically saying, hey, okay, so that's what I am. I'm a big, dumb Pollock. Or I'm a drunken Irishman or whatever. I'm a dandy British lord. And when you get to that point, this is why I think progressivism, as usual, has everything exactly backwards. Oh, we can't talk about that.
Oh, yeah, and not just that.
now
But the Nazis thought they were going to win World War II because of their racial purity. Our mongrel platoons went over there and kicked Nazi ass.
Kicked their asses. Yeah, that's right. That must have been embarrassing for them. That embarrassment.
It's like Jesse Owens on the top of the
Yep.
award stand.
Yep.
Yeah.
In '36 at the Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I want to do.
Great.
Okay.
Sounds like a fun week.
Yes, it does sound like a great week. And every great week we have is made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com. Those members actually contribute financially to this cause, and then occasionally they buy me dinner. And so we are, I invite all of you to do every week. And throw a bone to Steve occasionally as well. But we're grateful for that.
Leftovers.
It is. I'll tell you, it's when I get face to face with these folks and you get to see the real people. Oh, I didn't even tell you. A day maybe before that, or maybe it was the same day, a guy comes into the store. I'm working at Nebraska Furniture Mart, and he comes up to me and he says, "Hi, my name is Steve. I'm in town from Illinois, visiting some relatives, but I came here because you mentioned once that you worked at Nebraska Furniture Mart, and I just wanted to say thank you, and I watch all you guys' stuff, and I really love Right Angle and BillWhittle.com, and I think he's a member, and he was just grateful for it, and he stopped by and shook my hand, and then as often happens, he sort of apologized, said, "I hope you don't think this is odd."
No,
and
I get that all the time.
I said,
made my day,
"Steve,
week, and month. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Not even just the positive words, the fact that you care enough about what we're doing here to take time out of your day to come and shake my hand when, we're kind of penned up in these little isolation tanks like the movie Altered State. Like I feel like Bill Hurt floating in the isolation tank. I never get to see the people that we're communicating with. And what a joy it was this week to see a bunch of you. And thank you so much for doing that. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thank you to the members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.
Now I know why I bash my head against the insides of the corridors as I'm going down to the bathroom every day here.
Well, I do that, but it's because
pretty soon you're going to be loping down the street like an ape, like Bill Hurt did in that movie.